There's a lot of people moving out of Toronto into the city of Hamilton, and I'm going to let you in on some of the reasons that is happening. My name's Lisa Larson. I'm a local real estate agent, and I love to help people find home. You can text me, call, email if you have any questions about Hamilton and the surrounding areas. I'd love to help. Let's get into why so many people are leaving the city of Toronto for Hamilton. So, the first reason, and this might be the one that pops in a lot of people's minds first, is the market. Toronto's real estate market is known for being just atrociously high. It has sky high prices, especially if you're looking at detached homes, condos. The average price for a detached home in Toronto has eclipsed 1.5 million. And this has unfortunately priced so many aspiring homeowners out of the market in Toronto. The housing market in Hamilton is much more attainable. The market has seen a lot of growth over the last decade. However, the city of Hamilton still remains far more affordable than Toronto. The average home price as of 2024 in Hamilton is around 800,000. So this makes it much more attainable than Toronto when you are looking at comparisons of the two markets. Even renting in Toronto is notoriously expensive. You're going to pay $2,500 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. Of course, that can vary, where you can get the same sort of apartment in Hamilton for $1,000 less. So even looking at the two rental markets, they're very different. And it's become a major pull for individuals who want to upgrade their living situation, want to build equity. Looking at Hamilton, it's possible for them to buy and be saving money in the long run. Hamilton is increasingly being seen as a high growth city. There's lots of investment potential in the city because of its close proximity to Toronto and its growing economy. Hamilton is expected to experience long-term appreciation in real estate. So this is making it very appealing for investors from Toronto. They're noticing this, and as more people move to Hamilton, the housing market is becoming increasingly competitive. However, at the end of the day, it's still so much more affordable than the market in Toronto. Another reason people are moving out of Toronto and into Hamilton is the cost of living. So in Toronto, the expenses can add up so quickly that you experience on a daily basis, from dining out, groceries, public transportation, parking. It can get really expensive. Looking at transportation costs, a Metro Pass can run you about $156 a month in Toronto, and parking fees are simply skyrocketing in the city. So not only is it hard to find parking that's convenient a lot of times, but it's also just very expensive. Now, if you look at Hamilton, you're going to find that day-to-day costs are significantly lower. Even eating out and grabbing a coffee and a snack at a cafe are often 15 to 20% cheaper than Toronto. Now, this is due to lower demand and fewer logistical challenges. There's also local markets like the Hamilton Farmers Market, which offers fresh local produce at very competitive prices compared to what you would be paying in Toronto. It's harder to get things in and out of there, and the farmers market in Hamilton is just going to be more affordable. Another interesting point, which I don't know that a lot of people quite realize, is that you're going to pay higher utilities and higher insurance in Toronto as well. In Hamilton, the costs are typically cheaper. The cost of heat, electricity, water, they're lower because the city doesn't face the same density and infrastructure challenges as Toronto. Also, insurance premiums are cheaper in Hamilton because in Toronto, you're going to experience inflated rates because of the high risk factors that exist in larger cities. Also, when it comes to public transportation and parking, Hamilton's a lot more affordable as well. You're going to find that a monthly bus pass in Hamilton costs around $85, which is significantly less than the $156 you're going to spend on a Toronto Metro Pass. Also, if you are driving, parking is generally easier to find, or at least more convenient to where you need to get to, and it's going to cost you a lot less than it's going to cost in Toronto. Toronto's traffic congestion is notorious. There's a running joke that you're always an hour from Toronto when you're in Toronto because the traffic can just be so crazy. Commuting in Toronto can just eat up a significant part of your day. On average, a Toronto resident spends about 80 minutes commuting in the city. Longer if you live on the outskirts of Toronto. So, this means more stress, less time for personal pursuits, and overall, a lower quality of life. One of Hamilton's biggest advantages is its close proximity to Toronto. So if you are still working in Toronto, you can live in Hamilton and experience a lower cost of living, as well as a slightly more laid back lifestyle, as Hamilton just has a smaller city feel. If you hop on the QEW, it takes approximately 45 minutes to get to Toronto. Of course, this varies based on where in Toronto you're going. And let's be real, that's if things are running perfectly smooth. It's so easy for the littlest thing to happen to cause a bunch of traffic congestion on the QEW. So many commuters find it's best to make that drive in off peak hours. And this is really only possible if you have a job that has some flexible hours. As an alternative, Hamilton does have multiple GO transit lines. So you can use express trains or buses and make it to Toronto in just under an hour. Okay, this is a benefit of Hamilton that I talk about so much when I talk about the city, and that is its access to nature. So Hamilton is nicknamed the waterfall city of the world. It has over 100 waterfalls within the vicinity. Now, this is such a plus because you can live in the city, get all the pluses of that, and then it's so easy to go hiking, go to a waterfall, find one of the many, many trails in the city, and it can just feel like a mini escape. Toronto does have a lot of parks and waterfront areas, but with the city's urban sprawl, a lot of residents don't have easy access to those places as well, especially in the warmer months. Those areas can just become so overcrowded. In Hamilton, you can easily access Albion Falls, Webster's Falls, Devil's Punch Bowl. All of these are such beautiful spots to explore. And they can get a bit busy in the warmer months, but it's still going to be much better in comparison to the waterfront areas in Toronto on a hot summer day. Also, Hamilton is just located really beautifully because you're in between Lake Ontario and the Niagara Escarpment. So that means you just have so much access to beautiful views, hiking paths, bicycle trails. There's also the Bruce Trail, which runs all the way from Tobermory to Niagara, and it runs right through Hamilton. So you've got a really great backdrop for those who love the outdoors. There's also Bayfront Park, Pier 4, the Lakefront Trail. So if you want to spend a lot of time by the water, biking or cycling, those are the same things. Biking or walking. There's lots of spots to do that in Hamilton. Let's just go back to public transit and infrastructure for a minute. So in Toronto, there's a much more extensive public transit system than Hamilton, but there's so much demand on it and it is often delayed, especially during peak hours when you need it the most. The city also does struggle with a lot of aging infrastructure that needs to be updated in Toronto. So a lot of commuters find the whole public transit system quite frustrating, and it is a downside of living in Toronto, especially considering there's a large population and a heavy demand for these services. They really need to be updated. Now, as I mentioned, Hamilton's public transit system, it's not as extensive as Toronto's, but it's becoming increasingly reliable and efficient. The HSR, the Hamilton Street Railway, runs an extensive bus network that covers the majority of the city's neighborhoods. There's also the LRT, the Light Rail Transit Project, which is currently under development. It's not going to be completed for a few years yet. However, it's significantly going to improve Hamilton's existing transit. So this will offer quicker and more reliable transit options from the east to the west ends of the city. There's also a growing network of bike lanes in Hamilton. So if you ride your bike for leisure, for work, there's a ton of bike lanes. They've made the city very bike friendly. Hamilton does offer just a bit of a small town charm and feel to it. There's local fundraisers, street festivals, volunteer opportunities. There's just lots of strong senses of community and neighborly goodness. So, just a huge plus that Hamilton has going for it is you get the best of both worlds in that city. You're in the city, you're close to every amenity you would need, you are close to incredible food. Hamilton is growing as a foodie city, and you're going to find so many great little local restaurants, local cafes that are unique, that are delicious. So, you're going to find a lot of things that you would find in Toronto, maybe just on a smaller scale, but they do exist in Hamilton. And the bonus is that you have that city feeling. And if you need to get out of the city, it's not hard. It's not hard to go find nature, to get out, go have a mini vacation, go hike, or get by the water. There's just lots of opportunity for all the things that you need. And if you just love Toronto so much, but you want to live in Hamilton, it's not that far or hard to get to Toronto on a weekend or a weeknight and go to a Jays game, go to one of your favorite restaurants down there. So, Hamilton is just such a great opportunity if you are looking to buy a home, you want to upgrade your living situation. Maybe you need to upsize your home, you want a yard. There's lots more options in Hamilton, and you're going to spend a fraction of what you're going to spend in the city of Toronto. Don't forget to hit subscribe.